The things that evoke awe are often large. At times, massive. Immensity inspires wonder. We say, the bigger the better, and we mean it. Hundreds of makes and models of airliners have been built over the decades, but only one reigns as the undisputed heavyweight king, first among the giants. It has been called the Whale, the Big One, Fat Albert, Big Ugly, the Aluminum Cloud. But Boeing's remarkable 747 is best known by the term it inspired. With its humpback, 4 massive engines, 3 decks, forest of landing gears, goose-like waddle, and staggering dimensions, the 747 is said to be the most recognized airplane in the world. It may just be the most popular as well. That kind of celebrity was never anticipated. The British and French were developing Concorde for international travel as Boeing developed its 747. While the European transport had supersonic appeal, its small cabin could accommodate only 100 passengers, too few to make money. So airlines bought the Boeing as an interim aircraft, one they'd use until a large fuel-efficient SST arrived. Now, more than 3 decades later, they're still waiting. Meanwhile, the big Boeing proved itself to be so economical, so accommodating, so delightful to fly, and so adaptable to changing technologies that it became the mainstay of international air travel. More than 1,200 of the giants have been delivered so far, and Boeing has orders stretching years into the future. Boeing has produced 6 basic versions of the 747. First was the Model 100. Then came the heavier Model 200. There is the high-density SR Shuttle, the short-body long-range SP, the Dash 300 with its noticeably lengthened upper deck, and then the 747-400, which has distinctive winglets. In addition, there are swing-nosed freighters and combis, which are aircraft that carry both passengers and cargo on the main deck. Also, more than a dozen 747s have been modified for special uses. When necessary, the Pentagon conscripts civilian 747s to move personnel and cargo. During the Gulf War, for example, 747s carried 644,000 troops and 220,000 tons of cargo and equipment. The Air Force owns and operates several 747s as airborne command vehicles. And as to do the unusual, 747s have proven adept at carrying spacecraft and leaders of state with equal aplomb.
Men and women of Boeing, I have looked forward to coming here for a long time, and I guess what I ought to begin by saying is thank you for Air Force One. You know, everywhere I go in that airplane, I am the second most important celebrity. People really just want to see the plane.
747s crowd airports across the globe. At any moment of any day, thousands of people are flying somewhere aboard a 747. More than any other airplane, the big Boeing has brought distant people together. By now, billions of people of every nationality, color, creed, and political persuasion have traveled aboard 747s. It is the airplane that changed the world. Joe Sutter led the team of Boeing engineers that designed it.
It's carried a significant portion of the entire Earth's population in safety and comfort and efficiency. It opened up air travel to almost anybody that wants to fly. Today, it's still the queen of the skies.
The 747's first appearance was a day to remember. Boeing engineer Jeff Olson was one of the thousands on hand, and he recalls the moment vividly.
When on September 30th, 1968, And to watch the airplane roll out and watch the doors open as the nose of the airplane came out, I had to make sure I didn't faint. I couldn't wait to call up my father and tell him that I was part of something that made world history.
And yet, before the 747's reign began, many were hesitant to embrace its huge form. A test pilot who retired as a vice president at Boeing, Brian Weigel, was co-pilot on the very first flight of the 747.
During the development, before we flew, there were a lot of concerns. Concerns about turning such a huge airplane on the existing runways and taxiways. There was concerns whether pilots could land it from the great height the cockpit was at.
Gary Pugh was among the army of workers who helped build that first one.
There was, I think, some concern amongst travelers and just the general public that the airplane was just too big.
Even Pugh had some doubts when he watched Brian Weigel, project pilot Jack Waddell, and flight engineer Jess Wallach take the Big Bird aloft for the very first time one wintry morning in February 1969.
My greatest recollection of that day was not the takeoff, really, but the landing, because as we watched the airplane approach from the north, coming in over Puget Sound, it had this beautiful nose-high attitude, but it seemed like it was going too slowly. It didn't seem like it was going fast enough to generate the lift that it needed to stay airborne. But I've learned to accept that now, and I still am in awe as I watch that airplane approach for a landing today. It's a beautiful sight to me.
Even after all these years, the 747 is still something to behold. This is the 747-400, the current production version, and in number of units delivered, the most popular. It's over 6 stories high. From nose to tail, it's almost 232 feet, just about twice the length of the Wright brothers' first flight. The Dash 400's wings spread 211 feet, so long they make the winglets at their tips seem tiny. But these drag-reducing appendages actually stand 6 feet tall. Its elevators, the movable horizontal tail fins, are as large as the main wings of a 737. Filled with fuel, cargo, passengers, and crew, a 747 can weigh as much as 875,000 pounds, about equal to 250 minivans. Just one wing weighs 28,000 pounds. That's the same weight as a fully loaded DC-3, the most advanced airliner of its era. On average, the exterior paint of a typical 747 weighs 1,200 pounds. When the 747 first appeared, passengers were agog as they entered the cabin. It was cavernous, 20 feet wide, 8 feet from floor to ceiling. The exterior walls were flat vertical, not curved. Rows had up to 10 seats across. It had 2 main aisles that ran nearly 200 feet from front to back. They just went on and on. There were even crossing aisles. Overhead compartments on both sides, as well as in the middle. A total of 9 galleys and 15 lavatories. The enclosure seemed more like a waiting room than a flying machine. And for uneasy flyers, that illusion was welcome. To help the general public understand the new spacious world that awaited them, Boeing produced a series of commercials about its new jumbo.
The Boeing